There she is. That's why you skip a jig on docks during the pre-spawn. I'll come back there. Oh, come on. All right. Z-Man cross eyes flipping jig. Big old fat pre-spawner. That's why you want to flip a jig on lead-in banks, whether it's boat docks, whether it's lay downs. We just got another bite on a grass bed. When that water temperature is over about 52, they're gonna start coming back into these spawning pockets. It's a nice fish. Let her go. A term I use a lot throughout the entire year really, but especially pre-spawn and post-spawn, is short pockets. And by short pockets, I mean pockets that have maybe 8 docks in them, and it's right off the main lake. And now the reason that I focus on those in the pre-spawn is because oftentimes you'll find the first shallow bass of the year in these short pockets. And I say that because the creek or river channel isn't but 100 yards away. So they can respond quicker and easier to slight temperature changes as the water warms up. Now over my shoulder back here is where the bass are going to go eventually to spawn. It's sand, as you can see on the bank. It's a sand flat and it's a south facing short pocket. And bass, for whatever reason, really like to spawn on those south facing pockets. So what I'm trying to do is just intercept. So I know they've been in that river channel behind me. And now as it's warming up, I know where they're going. So they got to be somewhere between, in this 150 yard zone right here. And of course, the easiest and most obvious targets are docks or laydowns or grass, anything. My favorite bait for fishing these little short pockets, because I'm trying to pick these fish apart. They're not always going to be reactive to a moving bait this time of year. Water's still pretty cold. They're still a little lethargic. So sometimes you have to make them bite a little bit. So I like fishing a smaller jig. I use about a 1/2 ounce size. The one I'm using today happens to be a Z-Man cross eyes flipping jig. And it's got a real tight, compact profile. It doesn't get hung up easily. And for the trailer, I chose to use a really subtle, tight kicking action. I've got a Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl in here. I'm sure we all got a couple packs laying around somewhere, and they're one of the best wintertime or very early spring jig trailers you can use because they displace enough water, but they don't overwhelm those lethargic fish and turn them negative on you. It's just real nice and subtle, but it still gets just enough attention to get a lot of bites. Something else you can look out for this time of year, in the early spring, late winter, actually any time the water's below 60 degrees, are these metal boat and jet ski lifts. They hold a lot of heat. Even if the sun peeps out for a couple hours on these dreary days, they hold a lot of heat and the bass will snug right up next to them. It's important to understand that this short pocket deal, when you get on it, it's very easy to duplicate throughout a lot of the lake. For instance, one day, like when the water temps, 50 to 52 degrees, when it's just starting to warm up and get in that pre-spawn mode, you might get on a pattern where you're catching them in the front halves of short pockets. And then mid-50s, you'll catch them maybe in the middle of short pockets. As you get closer to 60, probably in the backs of the short pockets. So it's very easy to replicate. Like I said, you can really run it lake wide and get pretty dialed in on these fish. Very easy pattern. No matter what your skill level is, you can catch them doing this.